And should be.
Rightfully so with that shot.
Her third of the season. So Landry back out there for Oklahoma. Gave up that home run. Has had some base traffic to have to deal with. Hasn't had a clean inning so far.
We heard Coach Weekly talk about it on the Tennessee side of the ball, but I mean, walk numbers have been high for both pitching staffs so far in this ball game. 3 free passes for Landry. A lot of base runners and really and truly, I mean, not a ton of base hits in this ball game. Tennessee with 4. The Sooners just with 2, but still finding base runners.
Pounded into the ground on a hop to McEnroe-Marinas. 1 away in the 4th. Only McEnroe-Marinas, Patty Gasso said she's built to be a third baseman. She's just wired that way.
You've got to, I feel like you've got to have a couple screws loose to be a third baseman.
Now, what do you mean by that?
We have seen Nelly McEnroe-Marinas all season, especially with lefties in the circle for the Sooners, just getting fed all the time. And some of those hot shots, I mean, they don't call it the hot corner for no reason.
Well, Oklahoma's had some very good ones.
Yes.
Alyssa Brito, Sydney Romero, just a couple that they have had down there in recent years. You've got to be fearless to play down there.
And when you've got fearless third baseman like Sid Romero, Nelly McEnroe-Marinas, it makes it easier when you're in the circle of knowing when you hit a spot. And speaking of third baseman,
yeah, there's Alyssa Brito watching. Riley Boone. You know, there's national champs all over the house tonight. Just down and in there.
Nicole May as well, and whole line of national champions there. Lena Torres, Jada Coleman.
Jada Coleman down there. Two balls and 2 strikes here with Leach, who doubled, hit that ground rule double that bounced over the left field foul fence. Slow roller to second. Agbayani takes care of Leach. 2 gone.
Landry getting ahead on Leach 0-2, and then you can see her working her pitches low in the zone. 2 ground balls here in the 4th. A little bit of an adjustment from Landry. Most of Tennessee's outs up until this inning were in the air. So seeing the adjustment by Landry, getting the ball down and working low in the zone.
Savai Morgan is 0 for 2. She has flied to left and hit a comebacker to the pitcher, Landry. And 0-2 the count on the Tennessee left fielder. Morgan has started every game for the Vols, leads them in runs scored, 19 stolen bases, just a menace when she gets on base.
Morgan has really been a table setter for this Lady Vols offense all season. Has been kept off the base paths here tonight.
Tough short hop there by Garcia, but she's able to get Morgan. And that's the first 1-2 by Sam Landry tonight. 2-1 Tennessee leads. We'll visit with Patty Gasso when we return to Norman.
It was a hole.
See a little bit of orange you see on some of our wide shots in the outfield.
Yeah, quite a few Tennessee fans here.
These are the hardest tickets to get in the state of Oklahoma. I know the Oklahoma City Thunder leads the NBA in just about everything. I think these tickets are harder to get because there are fewer of them.
I agree with that.
And some Tennessee fans were able to get them. Got to have some strings. Maybe Josh Heupel has some connections, or I don't know.
He might have a few.
Could. This one rolled foul. Your Patty Gasso say, and that's been this team's MO. Even if they're not producing huge numbers, they always feel comfortable and confident, and that goes back to her confidence in JT Gasso. She has complete confidence in what the game plan will be and in her offense's approach to games like this.
Yeah, and regardless of what's happening in the game, this offense attacks. And I think one thing that's really, and we've seen it with every single offensive team that in the past few years, of they trust the process. You don't see them trying to do too much, and they do such a tremendous job of making in-game adjustments.
Patty Gasso said, I try to be mom. I try to tell him he can and can't do things, but he's just so good at what he does. She compared him to a professor who teaches things in a way that students thank him for it. Like, thank you. I maybe didn't understand. It was a difficult concept, and you made the learning easy for me.
It takes a special type of coach to be able to do that, right? And, you know, as coaches, it's easy to get stuck in your ways of, well, this I've told you once, I've told you twice. I'm not going to tell you again, almost like a parent. But finding a way of learning what makes every single one of.
So we talk about the speed, we talk about the pitch, 78.2 miles per hour. Previous fastest pitch was a former fellow Lady Volunteer, Monica Abbott. That was nicely done with the second baseman Dodge coming in behind Gibson to get the out at first base. It was the Chicago Bandits, 77 miles per hour that Monica Abbott threw back in 2012. The prior fastest pitch.
In good company. I've got to say, when I think Tennessee softball, there's so many different facets that you can brag on, but they have always had tremendous pitching. When you go back the Monica Abbott days, and it hasn't always just been about the velocity. That's the low-hanging fruit, right? Of, oh my goodness, Pickett's throw so hard, 78 miles an hour. We could talk about it all day. It's unbelievable, but that's not what makes her great.
All 5 Oklahoma hitters she has seen. To the 5th we go in Norman.
These pitchers starting to settle in and be in the strike zone, which was an issue early on both sides.
Was, in fact, 2 of the 3 runs were scored by a batter who was either hit by pitch or drew a walk. Agbayani, easy over to first with the first out. Alana Agbayani has moved right into that second base spot for Oklahoma defensively. We've talked about it over the years with this Oklahoma program. Pitching, amazing. National Pitchers of the Year. All-time softball home run leaders. But they have been so good defensively under Patty Gasso over the years. Unflinching in the detail that they have out there in the field. It has been a staple of her tenure here in Norman, hasn't it?
It has, and it's easy to talk about the great arms that have come through this program. It's easy to talk about the blasting offense. I think sometimes the defense gets overlooked a little bit, you know, and not so much because it's not outstanding, but it's expected. You don't always expect pitchers to come out and shut out every team that they face and strike out 10, or to have an offense that has the power like we've seen from this Sooner team in recent years. You expect in a Sooner uniform to see nearly a flawless defense, and this defense does not disappoint.
That was hit on a line, a bit of a late jump out there by Core, and she was just able to pluck it Off the outfield turf to retire.
By Core, big grin, finding a way to make the she just wanted to make a shoestring catch.
It got our attention. McKenna Gibson, the cleanup hitter. She walked in the first and then grounded out to the first baseman, Sid Sanders, in the third. 39 career home runs, 157 career runs driven in. And a high chopper, an easy one for Landry. Now back-to-back 1-2-3 innings in the circle for Sam Landry. 80 volunteers. Certainly showing what they have to take. There's the wall. That is right field here at Loves Field. Carlin Pickens has retired all 5 batters that she has faced since coming on in relief of Sage Margetko. Maya Bland is pinch hitting here for the Sooners.
Just her second home run of the season and took advantage of a pitch up in the zone. Swing of the bat. In this game, it has just been absolute momentum shifts back and forth between these two teams.
Oklahoma has certainly taken hold of the momentum in this one. And here is Nellie McEnroe-Marinas.
Big swing and a miss from Marinas. Has not seen the ball well here this evening with a pair of strikeouts.
7 home runs in 9 SEC games. She had a home run in each game of the Missouri series last weekend. This off the end of the bat and barehanded. Carlin Pickens able to get out number 2. McEnroe-Marinas is 0 for 3 tonight.
Pickens just bouncing off the mound to make the play. Good response after the solo shot.
Cassidy Pickering has reached in both of her plate appearances tonight. Had a base hit in the first and a walk in the third. She was the last batter that Margetko faced before being replaced by Pickens. Just a mature hitter. That's the word that you get from Patty Gasso, DJ Gasso, and she's only a sophomore.
Yeah, and she came in with that composure as a freshman. And, you know, we can talk about all the things that she did and has continued to do in a Sooner uniform, but so much of that goes back to just how well she approaches her at-bats. And she has never looked like a freshman in the box.
She was National Player of the Week back on March 4th. She had a 4-homer week with 12 runs batted in. And she was a big part of Oklahoma's title run in Oklahoma City last year. Was on the all-tournament team at the Women's College World Series.
And she just came in again and never looked like a freshman. And one thing that I've been really impressed with her and Ella Parker as well, coming off of freshman runs like we saw from Pickering, it's really easy to press as a sophomore and try to do too much. She's done just a really good job of showing that maturity.
Right back up through the box and into center field. Second hit for
a little bit of a defensive swing coming from Pickering, but finding a way on base here with 2 outs.
Gabby Garcia checked her swing but fouled that ball off. She's 0 for 1, drove in the first Sooner run with a sacrifice fly to left field that scored Hannah Core back in the third. Oklahoma has tied it here in this 5th inning on a solo home run by Abby Dayton. And 0-2 the count quickly on Garcia.
Speaking of freshmen that do not look like freshmen, Gabby Garcia, and I want to go back to her at bat in the third with that sacrifice fly. Again, not trying to do too much.
Business-like freshman. 0-2 remains the count. Pickens has struck out 2 since entering the game in relief of Margetko. To the first baseman to go in her first year in Knoxville.
And Nugent knows this program well, and one thing I have really enjoyed in this ball game and watching Sophia Nugent behind the plate, and just the way that she has managed this game and taking charge. And speaking of Sooner ties, Coach Craig Snyder also spent some time here in Norman as well. He was a graduate assistant.
Catcher in Kinsey Hansen. And as we said, there's so much grumbling about the transfer portal. We don't talk enough about the times that it works out.
Yeah.
Look at these two who are battling right here. You've got a Louisiana transfer and an Oklahoma transfer.
It's about finding the right fit. And, you know, and part of it as well, you know, as recruiting gets earlier and earlier, things change.
They do.
And it's not, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong on either side. It's just finding the right.
And she goes off speed for strike one to Laura Mueller. Mueller 1 for 2, had a base hit into center field back in the third and popped up to second baseman Agbayani the first time up. Not a lot of off-speed offerings, but 2 to start this at bat.
And you can see Mueller, that's not what she was hunting. She was out of rhythm and off time, and Landry finding some rhythm herself. Working in the zone, we're seeing a lot more 0-2 pitchers counts. And her misses are the difference. The misses are close. The misses are deliberate. We're not seeing those big misses way out of the zone, up or down or in the dirt. Each pitch is just nibbling right outside the zone, and all of a sudden now you're shifting and we're starting to see more defensive swings from the Volunteers.
High chopper reaching up to grab it is Sanders, but won't get to the bag in time. Mueller beats it. A little off balance there, but had to climb. That's the second hit from Mueller tonight. It breaks a string of 8 straight retired by Sam Landry. And here's Ella Dodge, who was hit by pitch and was aboard when Doyle cracked a home run in the second.
Something to keep an eye on. Mueller will take off. 6 stolen bases on the season. This is an aggressive Tennessee team. An opportunity here to try to put some pressure on this Oklahoma defense.
Ground ball to Agbayani. She will tag Mueller and throw to first, but not in time. As Dodge beats the wrap. Crushed. A 2-run home run to left center field in the second will be the batter. She's also grounded out to the third baseman, McEnroe Marinas, tonight.
Doyle's home run back in the second has been the difference maker for Tennessee in this game, and took that 3-1 pitch. But I will say this, Tennessee, 5 hits, but finding a way to get runners on base.
Two balls and a strike now.
You can hear the Sooner fans unhappy about that call, as is Coach Gasso. And I will say this, we have seen walk numbers high on both sides. It's not a coincidence. The zone is tight. And I mean, I feel like when you're seeing those high walk numbers, that's a big time off speed pitch from Landry in the 3-1 count. But there's a common denominator when you got high walk numbers. That's spoken like a pitcher, but
indeed it is.
There is a common denominator when you got high walk numbers like we've seen tonight.
Lifted into right center field, long run, but Pickering is able to reach it, and the inning is over. A base hit and a runner left by the Lady Volunteers. We're tied at 2, headed to the bottom of the 6th. LSU would be 6-1, and Mississippi State would be 6-1 after that win. They could go to 7-1 if they sweep Texas today. Ella Parker leads off for Oklahoma, swings through that one. Parker's 0 for 2. She's flied to center and flied to left.
You talk about looking around at scores on in the SEC, absolute gauntlet. There is no break.
The only break you get, and it's not always, is when you get to step out of conference play for a weekend. Oklahoma will do that next weekend, but they'll get a pretty good UCF team here in Norman.
Absolutely. And if you track this week, you know, a little bit of a stressful game up in Wichita. So, I mean, it's just never ending, and I think every weekend you've got to be at your best.
Parker fouls this one off. So about that game in Wichita, 19-16. Back on Wednesday night for the Sooners, who got 8 runs in the first inning. And Wichita State started hitting home runs. The night got late, and Oklahoma was able to get out of, not Dodge, but another city in Kansas, Wichita, with a 3-run victory, 19-16. As Pickens retires Ella Parker to start the 6th.
I'm impressed with your Kansas geography, Chad.
Let's see, Dodge, West, and Wichita kind of south central in the state of Kansas. Pickens has been very good with the exception of the home run to Dayton in the 5th. That is one of 2 base runners that she has allowed since taking over in the 3rd for Marjetko, who started tonight. Sydney Sanders is 0 for 2.
And one thing this Tennessee pitching staff has done well just in general, if you go back and you look, they've handled the middle part of this lineup very well. Garcia had the sac fly, but she also grounded into a 6-4-3 double play with runners in scoring position back in the 1st. Ella Parker an 0 for 9 so far, something that is atypical. Sydney Sanders has not reached base yet here tonight. So Tennessee pitching has handled the meat of the Sooner lineup very well, and you know, that's why we're knotted at 2.
2-1 now on Sid Sanders.